The ROPI model is really a way to think about how to manage a company. So we've talked about financial analysis already and how the ROPI model can be used, how it's probably the preferable model, not always, but it's most of the time it's the preferable model to use to try to analyze a company's value, and it may be the more reliable model. But the ROPI model itself and the very idea that you have certain net operating assets that should deliver a certain return and then you want to create residual returns is a way to think about management and how to run a company. So I'm going to talk about that very briefly, and let's go back to the model again. We have net operating assets would be what maps into firm value is net operating assets and the present value of NOPAT minus the expected return on net operating assets. So firm value really comes from ROPI, residual operating income. And what you want to do is if you're going to manage a company, you want to focus on maximizing your ROPI, specifically your excess, your residual returns above and beyond what you would normally and what people would normally expect you would earn from your net operating assets. So two ways to do this. One way is to decrease your net operating assets. You're probably thinking, wait, that would decrease firm value because this would go down. But the thing is that net operating assets being decreased would increase your residual operating, and that should have a larger impact on firm value in the long run. So in essence, what you're doing when you're decreasing net operating assets is you're improving net operating asset turnover by producing the same amount or more using less net operating assets. So in essence, what this means is becoming more efficient. Another tool is to increase NOPAT, to really focus on net operating profits and how to increase your NOPAT so that you're producing more NOPAT with the same amount of net operating assets. And I know this sounds very esoteric, but this can be an approach towards managing a company. And it focuses on both the balance sheet, i.e. having the right amount of net operating assets to use to make your company successful, and the income statement by focusing on NOPAT. So anyway, one way to reduce net operating assets, i.e. this would improve your net operating asset turnover, you become more productive, is to reduce your receivables, in other words, collect them more quickly. Reduce your inventory, which would mean to increase your inventory turnover, move your inventory more quickly, produce the same sales with a little less inventory. You can do this by increasing the flow of inventory through your supply chain, i.e. decreasing the amount of time it takes you to sell inventory. Increase your payables or reduce your PP&E. If you have excessive PP&E that's not producing for you, that's going to increase your net operating assets and drag down your NOPAT and your residual, your ROPI, so to speak. Okay. Increase NOPAT. So how do you increase NOPAT? Better gross profit margins. Either increase your sales price, decrease your cost, or perhaps shift your product mix over from less profitable products towards more profitable products. Another approach is to reduce your SG&A expenses. And if you can produce the same sales with less selling costs, then that's also going to increase your NOPAT. So we've gone over two different models here, discounted cash flow model and the ROPI model. And the discounted cash flow model has the advantages that everybody uses it. The cash flows, it's not so much affected by accrual accounting. And the idea of free cash flow is something that everybody understands. But the disadvantage of it is that there are basically some inaccuracies in how it's done and how these calculations are made. So any cash investments are really just treated as cash payments. The value, it doesn't properly distinguish between operating and financing values. And computing actual free cash flow can be a little bit complicated. We went over some of the calculations, but it's hard to get an accurate measure of free cash flow. The ROPI model focuses a little bit more on operations. I think of the ROPI model really as a refinement of all the existing models and as something that research has shown is more closely connected with value than what we do. So it says here, financial statements do not reflect all company assets, especially knowledge-based inventories and some knowledge accrual accounting. The truth is that these disadvantages can be gotten around by going into your sandbox and changing the numbers around. I think I have to finish the video. So other valuation methods include something called the method of comparable models and net asset valuation model. And we're going to talk about these in module 15. And what these do is comparables focuses on what's called a PE ratio, price multiples. And net asset valuation focuses on what the value of the asset should be as compared to the stock market value. And that's all going to be in module 15.